Hello and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Donation. I am your host, Matt Bitsagai. I am joined today by David Pisarek of Wow Digital. David is the founder of Wow Digital, which is a marketing agency that works with nonprofits. David is based in Toronto, Canada, and we're super excited to have him on the show today. David, thanks for joining us.
So much, Matt. Hi, everybody. Super excited to be here with all of you and looking forward to chatting with you, Matt, and seeing where this conversation goes.
Yeah, great. So I think we're going to talk about all things nonprofit websites today. But before we get into that, if you would just maybe take a second and tell our audience a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Wow Digital, and how long you've been doing what you're doing.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start in the early days. Early 90s, we got dial-up internet at home, and that's when I kind of like fell in love with the web, and I've been in it ever since. So we're looking at like 30-ish years or so of working in web. Around 2000, or not around 2000, in September of 2000, I started working full-time in nonprofits for about 16 years when I started the agency in 2016. And what do we do at Wow Digital? We do websites and design service for nonprofits and charities. We've done over 270 projects from small little organizations to national and international ones as well. And we love the work that we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it probably goes without saying, but I think, we know in today's digital age that we live in, a strong web presence, online presence is really crucial for nonprofits. So, can you kind of tell me from your perspective what that looks like? What do we mean when we say a strong online presence?
Yeah. So when we think about an online presence, right? Okay, website, clear, right? But there's other pieces to that. There's your social media, there's videos, there's where you show up in the media, where you show up on other people's podcasts, like I'm on here right now, right? So when you think of your online presence, it's everything kind of all combined. So what is your branding? And your branding isn't just your logo. Your branding is your colors, your fonts, your style. I've got lights on behind me here that are like blue. If there's a little bit too much light coming from outside, so it's a little bit washed out. But you go to my site, very similar feel. I've got similar colors there. I'm all about the branding. We need to bring the look, the feel, but also the tone and style of messaging. That's something that a lot of organizations don't really necessarily think about is how do they actually come across, right?
Mhm.
So with regards to websites, what makes a website really good? What makes it engaging, right? We know that people are going to Google, they're going to YouTube, they're searching for stuff and they're getting results. So you want to make sure that your website is leveraging search engine optimization, SEO, in a very specific way that will generate traffic from search, right? We want you to rank higher than, I'm going to call them competition. It's not really competition. We're all here to do good. We're all here to do better. At the end of the day, though, there's donor dollars and you're competing for those donor dollars, right? So, yeah, there is competition and you can collaborate in the space, but how can you rise above the other organizations to get more visibility? Right. And that's where a really great website comes in is it allows you the ability to rank higher than others.
So when it comes to the website, and obviously that's a pretty key piece as you're mentioning to the whole online presence, the digital presence. What are some of the main challenges that you come across when you're working with nonprofit clients as it relates to the website and trying to make that something that's working for them?
The biggest thing that we come across, or I'm going to call it a pain point with our
Sure.
clients, is time. Oh my gosh, there's never enough time. There's never enough employees and people or volunteers or supporters, right? There's so much to do. And nonprofit, I worked in nonprofits for about 16 years. I totally get it. You've got like 3 hats, 10 hats, 40 hats that you're wearing, juggling all the work and making sure it gets done. So time is really the biggest thing. So how long does it take you to go into your website to make updates? Can you do it? Do you even have the technical savvy? Is there a content management system that can make your life a little bit easier? Do you have a page builder inside of that that makes it easier? We build our sites for our clients with WordPress, and there's page builders you can use. There's Divi, there's Elementor, WP Bakery, and more out there. You can use Wix, you can use Squarespace, Webflow. There's a ton of them out there. So make sure that you've got a system in place whatever it happens to be, that's easy for you to manage and maintain. So that way you're not spending hours trying to post a news release or a blog post.
So it totally makes sense. So, let's assume that for most nonprofits out there that, maybe building a website from the ground up or from the beginning, maybe outside of their kind of technical capabilities, even using a system like a Wix or something that, makes it easier. I think there's still a lot of nuance to building a good website. And so, if I'm in a leadership position in a nonprofit and I think, we need a good digital presence. We don't have a good website today. I'm going to start thinking about looking at different agencies that might be able to help me. Like, what are some of the criteria or things that as I'm going through that process that, I either want to make sure that agency does, or I want to watch for red flags in the process? Like, do you have some things that you could share there that might help people going through that step?
Absolutely. When you're thinking about working with a organization, a business, a freelancer, a volunteer to help you with your website, the first thing you really need to be clear about is what is your budget, right? Really knowing how much money you can throw at this, I'm going to call it a problem, but to make your life better, easier, faster, have a better web presence, something that works on mobile. We did an audit of 493 nonprofit and charity sites. You'd be surprised at the percentage of sites that didn't work on mobile. John Mueller has actually come out and said that if your site isn't mobile friendly, you're going to rank lower in Google
Mm-hmm.
search. So you want to make sure that you're staying up to date on that type of stuff. So budget, number one, but it's not just, I'm going to quote Ron Popeil here. It's not a set it and forget it
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? You need to have ongoing budget to put time and effort into it, to make some new graphics for it every year, to apply security updates and patches. Maybe there's some plugins or modules that you need to use on it for extra enhancements. Maybe there's platforms like CRMs and donation platforms, not to mention any here, but there are some that are free, there's some that are paid, there's some freemium type models, right? You need to have budget for that. So going into the process, going, okay, here's what our budget is. What we see with a lot of our prospects that we meet with is there are budget thresholds
Mm-hmm.
for RFP, right? Where, like, all right, up to $20,000, you can get 3 quotes, and then over 20,000, you need to have go through like a formal RFP.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on the other side. So in the folks listening in your shoes, making the RFP, it's a big time commitment to
It
go
is.
through and do that.
It
It's
is.
a great process to go through because you get very clear as to what you need to do and what the platform needs to do for you. But if you can live underneath the threshold, right, you're saving yourself a whole bunch of time in doing that. So
Yeah.
yeah, budget is number one. Number two is being clear on your data. So if you don't have analytics on your site, get in touch with me. My team will get analytics on your site for free. We use Google Analytics. Absolutely. It's like, I don't know, 20 minutes of effort kind of thing to do it. But you want to be clear. How are people using your site? Are they using it the way that you want them to? That's a different question, right? If you want to drive people to make a donation, if you want to drive people to become a volunteer or to learn about a program or a service that you have, how easy or hard is that to do? So looking at the data, you can make some decisions around that. You can also make some decisions around, should you keep this on your website at all? One of our clients had, what was it? It was 1,853 pages in their
Oh
site,
my.
like huge, big, not the biggest site we've worked on, but yeah, it's a big site. And we did a full content audit with them. And when we relaunched their site, it had about half, it was 900 some odd, 920, 950 pages. I have my podcast as well, but I've got an episode where I talk about, should you keep this on your website or not? Right. And so really, like, the rule of thumb around that is keep the last 3 years of news releases, let's say, blog articles. Anything older than that typically isn't relevant anymore, probably isn't getting much traffic. But this is where the analytics come in, because you can look at that and go, oh, you know what? This article from 2015, we're actually getting traffic from that. right? Let's keep it. Let's make revisions to it. Google likes that,
Hmm.
right? They want to see that you're improving your content over time. So let's revise that there as well. And let's take a look at the most popular pages on the site. What are the top 20 pages? Do you have clear call to actions on those pages? Right? Super easy to implement. People don't want to think. They want to be told what to do as the next step.
So I want to go back to budget for a second because I
Sure.
think so. It's an interesting component to this whole thing where I know that I have and just anecdotally, like, quotes you can get for getting a website built can vary wildly in terms of the cost, and they may look like on the surface that you're getting an apples to apples thing, but the cost is wildly higher with one agency versus another. Not to put you on the spot, but like, what's a good way to kind of dig into that as a nonprofit and say, like, am I really getting over here the same as what this other quote or this other estimate is providing to me?
Hey, that's a great question, Matt. How do you know where the best value is?
Yeah.
And is it something that you actually need? So that's when you need to look at it and go, and this is where like the RFP process becomes a little bit helpful because you can go, this is the functionality we need, and you are going to quote on this. The problem with that is that you might not know what the functionality is that you actually really need,
Sure.
right? So you could hire a contractor, freelancer. You could hire me to even come in and work with you on putting that RFP together, and give you some guidance around that. We have a discovery process that we go through as well, where we'll give you a report, and then you know exactly what it is you need so that you can go to RFP, or get some quotes and actually compare apples to apples. So the first thing to look at is, I guess, back to red flags. Does the agency or freelancer that you're looking at hiring, are they experienced in the niche or the niche, right? Do they have experience with nonprofits, charities, NGOs, community groups, that type of thing? You want somebody that really gets that side of it. You want somebody that typically has a track record of having an ongoing relationship with their clients past the website launch. Can they support you? Do they have systems and processes in place? Do they know how to work within the nonprofit space, right? And that's where really like we shine. I'm a little bit biased here, but like we've done over 270 projects in the last 8 years in the nonprofit space, so we get it. We get the pain point that you've got there. So comparing the quotes, part of it is you need to trust your gut. You need to trust your intuition. You can't really measure that though, so that's a hard one. Take a look at the deliverables. Take a look at the timeline. If they're telling you, yeah, we can rebuild your 500-page site in like a month, that's a bit of a red flag. Um, what is the size of their team? Is it a single person? Do they have a team? Do they have designers, developers? Depending on what your needs are, can they support you and provide you with something that will work for you?
And I love what you said there. That you guys do kind of a discovery process. I think that can really help nonprofits kind of, as you said, sometimes we don't know what we don't know, right? And so we're not even sure what we do need or what we don't need. That discovery process can be a really powerful step in trying to understand your needs and put that onto paper so that you can kind of work off of that. So I think that's awesome that you guys do that. As you're starting to work with a nonprofit to build a website, so you've engaged with somebody in a project, like, what's the most essential part of that design, that website design, that you feel like has to be spot on? Like, what's that most essential piece in the process?
Science tells us that having pictures or videos of people looking at the camera really engages us because there's a part of like back to our ancestral times,
Mm-hmm.
where there's a lot of like you read people, right?
Yeah.
So like I can look at you and gauge the emotion, gauge what's happening, right? And that really does tell a whole story in and of itself. So in terms of design, you want to make sure that you're emotionally connecting with the people that are coming to the website, regardless of whatever page on the website they're landing on.
Sure.
So when you go to Google and you search for something, maybe about 30 to 40% of the time, you'll end up on the homepage of that business, that organization, that shoe company, whatever it is you're looking for, right? Typically, Google wants to get you to the content that you're looking for in as few clicks as possible. So back in the day, there was like a 3-click rule. Google wants to get you like the 1 click, get you to that content right away. So in terms of the design, does the brand fall across all of it? And then those pages that are getting traffic, what do those look like? How do they interact? How do people deal with those? And that's really kind of the key part of all of this, is how does the visual help tell the story regardless of where people are?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it also kind of speaks to maybe why, again, there's when you do searches and things, a lot of times images and videos are the stuff that show up at the very top and then kind of down from there. So that makes a lot of sense. So now we've started this project. We're working together. You're helping build a website for us. What do you do on your side, and what do I need to be doing on my side to ensure that that project goes smoothly, that we're staying on timelines? Like, how do you guys approach that?
So from our perspective, we don't work for our clients. We work with our clients. We partner with
Love that.
them.
Love that.
Where we don't want to be, oh yeah, they're the web guys, right? No, we want to be basically an extension of your marketing, communication, IT team to make this actually really fulfill the need and the void that it needs to. So from our side, once we have, or on our kickoff call on a project, we actually pick a weekly cadence to check in with our clients. So we'll say every Tuesday at 2 o'clock, we'll have a half-hour check-in. Typically, sprint cycles are 2-week periods. We like to ramp them up to a 1-week period. That way, it helps the project move along. It helps us stay accountable because we have deliverables. We need to show things, and it helps our clients. It would help you stay accountable in giving approvals or giving some content that we need, things like that. We do know that occasionally the meeting's like, yeah, we've been heads down on development. We don't really have much to talk about. All right, have a great day. And it's like 2-3 minutes. But
Mhm.
quite often it's a full half hour there. We have a feedback module that we install on our sites as we're building them out, so we can get direct feedback from the client. If you've ever worked with a web agency or a web person at all, you probably took screenshots and like a really long email trying to explain like, oh, I'm seeing this and I need this replaced, whatever. This is basically like taking a sticky note and just putting it on the page and leaving a comment right there. But what's cool about it, I'm such a geek. What's cool about it, right? What's cool about it is it'll actually take a screenshot of what you're seeing. So if something does look a little bit weird, obviously we do our best for that not to happen. But if something looks weird, we see exactly the way that you're seeing it. We get the browser, the screen resolution, the size of the browser window, all that stuff. So it eliminates all that like crazy back and forth that happens.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, and I love that approach because I think that the approach that you take, so every week you're having a sprint, you're having a review meeting, there's deliverables. So these your clients are seeing things throughout the whole process. And I always think about that type of approach where, back in the days of, waterfall software development or website development, where it was like, you'd follow this approach where you'd talk to the customer and then you'd go off and you'd build something and then you'd come back and say, here's the thing we built you. And I think there was always the risk that, I'm going to bake you a chocolate cake and you don't know that till I give you the cake, and you wanted a vanilla cake. And so by doing it the way you're doing it, there's constant feedback loops built in throughout the process where if you're on the wrong track working, on behalf of this customer, this client, that early on, you can course correct and so forth. So I love that approach, and I think it's definitely one that works really, really well for this type of thing.
Absolutely. If you're looking at hiring an agency or somebody to work with on whatever the project happens to be, right? It could be a landing page for a golf tournament. It could be redoing your entire website. It could be a whole bunch of different things. Whatever it happens to be, if they're not willing to meet with you on a regular basis, that's a bit of a red flag as well. We give our clients, once we set up the staging site, and we start building there, we give our clients access to it so they can see at any point in time whatever it is that we're working on. We have a total level of transparency here. We use ClickUp as our
Mhm.
project management tool. Love it. So awesome. But one of the things that we do is we have what we call a hub page that all of our clients get access to, and we embed the Gantt chart live from ClickUp into there. So our clients at any point in time, even if we met like just now, later this afternoon, you can go in and you can see the status of every, I don't know, there's like 400 or 500 different tasks to
Mhm.
launch a website. You can see where we're at with all of that at any point in time.
Yeah, so a lot of transparency, a lot of visibility, and I think that certainly helps with keeping projects moving and keeping them moving in the right direction. That makes a lot of sense. I'm going to give
Yeah.
you a chance. Tell us a success story that you maybe have. You've done 200, and I think you said 270 or somewhere along those lines projects. What's one that comes to mind where it's like there's just a really successful, the nonprofit benefited significantly from the work that you guys did for them?
Yeah. So one of our clients, Care Canada, we redid their website for them. They're the ones that had 1,800 some odd pages, and we cut it down to like 900.
Mhm.
Uh, we launched the site. Everything was going well. They've had a steady increase in organic search traffic coming to them, which is really awesome. That's kind of what we want. And then they asked us to create a landing page for a fundraiser that they wanted to do. It it was about 3.5 or 4 hours of our time. They made over $25,000 in
Wow.
donations through that. Um, we certainly can't take 100% of the credit for that because they did some advertising campaign and stuff like that and email blasts and that type of thing. But having an effective website, one that is very clear, is easy for people to use, is fast loading, um, that's really kind of the foundational components. And for us to come in and leverage a page builder that makes it like 4 hours to make a landing page for them, that has that kind of impact, that's a huge return on investment for them.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I love that. I'm gonna have to have you back on at some point in the future and talk actually about like landing pages and like when to use landing pages. I think there's a whole other topic that we could maybe chat through on that I think would be really interesting. If you could offer one piece of advice to the nonprofit leaders that are listening as it relates to their website or their online presence, what would that piece of advice be?
Just one? Oh my gosh, I've got like 50 going through my head right now, Matt. I guess the best piece of advice is to have somebody run an audit of your site. So you want to take a look at the messaging, the style, uh, speed, and accessibility. Those are probably like the four big components of what that audit would be.
Great. Is that something that they could contact you if they were interested in that, getting help doing an audit around something like that?
Absolutely. If you go to wowdigital.com/audit, we've got a page there, and I think there's like 5 or 6 questions, and we'll get an audit together, and we do it for free.
Awesome. Uh, Tell us, besides that, how can people connect with you if they're interested in learning more, or just contacting you to ask you some questions?
Absolutely. We have free consults. You can book that in directly with me. Just head over to wowdigital.com/consult or just wowdigital.com. You'll see clear call to action to book a consult with us, and happy to give you advice, thoughts, that type of thing. You can hit me up. You can email me, david@wowdigital.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. Happy to connect at any point in time.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure to include all that information in the show notes. David, very enlightening. Thank you so much for coming on and being willing to share your expertise and your knowledge around websites for nonprofits. I would highly recommend if you're listening in and you need to do that audit of your website. Maybe you're not happy with where it's at. Maybe you're not sure of where it's at. Definitely check out Wow Digital for that audit process and learn a little bit more about how you can make your website more effective. Again, David, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Matt. Everybody, have a great day. Take action today. First step forward. You're going to get to where you want to be.
Love that. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Beyond the Donation. As always, if you have ideas for us for topics or guests, please let us know. It definitely helps us make sure that we are talking about the things that you find important. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.